It reminds me of a video of if there's a video of Nipsey Hussle talks about that when you're being overwhelmed, think about why you started, right? You wanted to be put in that position. Obviously, there is certain dynamics based on like if you're just having a shitty day and you have to show up regardless. You didn't ask to have a shitty day, but it's more of if you're feeling stressed, like your business is tanking, or maybe there's a lot on your schedule and you have this, and that to do today, and you still have to achieve something else. Like it's like, remember why you started, remember why you jumped and took that leap of faith in the beginning and go through the pain and go through the overwhelming stress, because that's what you're asking for. And it's good. That's a good sign. It's not a bad sign.
Search for a new set of rules.
Bread is of little use to the man who has betrayed his soul.
Maybe you're the protagonist in your story, but like there's a million other people.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Paradyme. We hope you're doing great today and you're better than you were yesterday. This week, we're discussing chapter 4 from David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me, titled Taking Souls. Make sure before we start the content, you subscribe to the video, click that little bell, like the video, leave a comment because we love the feedback, and follow us on all our social media platforms. All the information will be in the description below. And with that, we'll get started. I want to know, what was your guys' favorite part of the chapter and why? Let's start with John.
Okay. Probably my favorite part of the chapter is when he's going through, I got on the page, but when he's going through the buds and he met Freak, because it's their second time around, and he's like, me, you, Freak, we top the boat. We're the two pillars the whole time. And he's like, let's go. And the whole time they had the strongest part of the whole thing. And I just like that aspect, building the team mentality and stuff. It helps you get through anything, right? And he did that. His second go around, he's like, this is how we can do it. And we have morale in our team too. You can't beat us. Yeah. I fuck with that. I think when you build a team, close to the group of people, you'll be able to overcome adversity, the other things,
Oh yeah. How about you, Devin?
I would say it's sort of along the lines of just a challenge when he starts to talk about the tactic. Towards the end of the chat, I'm not sure what page would be for you guys, but on mine it's like page 120 on my Kindle. At the very end of a paragraph, he says it's a mind game you're playing on yourself. The tactic that he's referring to is creating taking souls, and he describes what taking souls actually means. And especially with the example John just gave, like when he meets Freak, it's like they're playing a psychological game rather than a physical game with their instructors. They're trying to outwit them mentally, and trying to get in their instructor's head, realizing like the physical thing is one aspect, but if you can't mentally, that's why 100 people fall out of the BUDS program, because they mentally can't do it. It's draining. So it really is a mind game against yourself. It's not against anybody else. Like if you can't beat yourself, you're not going to beat the external world. So that was a big takeaway.
Yeah, that was.
And dude, when he's talking about like his knee, like being swollen up, and like they're still doing 4-mile runs and shit, I was like, bro, dude, they really are built different,
Yeah.
But when he had him swim out in the ocean, like, and by himself, like,
figure it out.
Yeah.
How about you, David? What's your favorite part?
I absolutely love the part where they're super exhausted, and in order to let the higher ups know that they're just built different, is when he's like, we're gonna lift this fucking boat and we're gonna throw it on top and then catch it and then touch the sand with it, and was just like looking at him dead in their eyes, like you can't fuck with boat crew too. And all of their pain and exhaustion sort of faded away, and they're using this like hidden fuel inside of them, which is just the
second wind.
The pain and the aggression that they had towards, the sergeants who were just going home, sleeping at night with their wives and everything, while they're over here just like dying. So that shit was super inspiring to me. It makes me just want to be like, every time I feel that exhaustion, that I can tap into something, harder than that.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I thought that was like crazy.
Did you guys know that he was in the same class as Kyle? Chris Kyle.
Dude, I had no idea. I read that. I was like, wait, dude, what?
Yeah.
Who is both team two, bro? They got Chris Kyle, David Goggins, Freak. I was like, who are these guys? They're the Avengers, bro. Like that's like a super rare movie.
Facts though, dude. That was
They
crazy.
should make a movie around that class 231. It should be the movie should be called 231.
Dude, when I read that,
idea.
I had no idea. Like, what are the like? That's crazy.
Yeah, that was pretty nuts when I read that too.
Did you guys look up videos of Hell Week? I looked up a bunch of YouTube videos, and it looks intense as fuck.
Yeah, I actually want to see that. It's like, I think I got a vivid description though of what it would be like.
He's a really good storyteller, dude. I've been just consuming the chapter in one sitting. It's crazy. I'm like, okay, what do I do for the rest of the week?
I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so my favorite part, I have a quote with some. It's kind of paraphrased as well, but on page 122, it says, "Once you're in the heat of battle, it comes down to staying power. That means rehearsing answers to the simple question that is sure to rise up like a thought bubble. Why am I here? If you know that moment is coming and have your answer ready, you will be equipped to make the split decision to ignore your weakened mind and keep moving. Know why you're in the fight to stay in the fight. And never forget that all emotional and physical anguish is finite. It all ends eventually. Smile at pain and watch it fade. And that may be enough to catch a second wind. And once you have that second wind behind you, it's easy to break your opponent down and snatch a soul. The hard part is getting to that point because the ticket to victory often comes down to bringing your very best when you feel your very worst." And so the reason why that really stood out to me, I have it written down as well, is I know every single person here and watching has been in a tough situation that has tested their resolve. And inevitably, the simple question arose, why am I here? Many have folded in that moment, but the greatest of us have their why memorized and carved into their brain. You must know why you're in the fight to stay in the fight rings the loudest. The ticket to victory often comes down to bringing your very best when you feel your very worst. Remember, self-doubt and anxiety when it comes to purpose means you're exactly where you're meant to be. And so that really stood out to me because, I mean, I can't say I relate with Bud's training at all, but I know a lot of people can relate by being in a really tough situation when you feel at your very worst, whether that's at school, whether that's in military training, whether that's at work. But in those moments, the really great people show up as their very best when they feel their very worst. So I thought it just really stood out to me. Page 120 through 122 had a lot of really, really good spots in it.
Yeah, it reminds me of a video of there's a video of Nipsey Hussle talks about that when you're being overwhelmed, think about why you started, right? You wanted to be put in that position. Obviously, there is certain dynamics based on like if you're just having a shitty day and you have to show up regardless. You didn't ask to have a shitty day, but it's more of if you're feeling stressed, like your business is tanking, or maybe there's a lot on your schedule and you have this, and that to do today, and you still have to achieve something else. Like it's like, remember why you started, remember why you jumped and took that leap of faith in the beginning and go through the pain and go through the overwhelming stress, because that's what you're asking for. And it's good. That's a good sign. It's not a bad sign.
Oh yeah.
It reminds me when he talked about like the second win and like, you know, trying to find the hidden power, just playing sports, basketball or boxing. Like I'm sure when we play basketball, like the third, fourth, fifth game, everyone's tired of shit, you know, but like I remember myself was like, I feel like this, they gotta fix this. If I can just squeeze out a little bit more, like I want to, you know, that's going to be my edge. Or like when I used to box, like there's timers and stuff, like towards like the last round, you're like, yo, I feel like shit. But if I can just make the guy think that the other guy think that I don't feel like shit, he's going to fold because like he's got to be feeling the way I do. I'm tired of shit. I'm going to trick him into thinking I'm not tired, right? And that'll like break him. That'll take his soul. He's like, fuck it, dude. He's got more energy than me. But it's like a bluff. Definitely.
Yeah, I think I can relate when it comes to basketball. Like, I think after like the third or fourth game, everybody's tired. And I'm like, all right, let's play another one. Everybody's like, God damn.
I know. You do that shit. That shit makes, I'm like, no, Jay, give me a second. I don't want to play.
No water. Let's go.
It's interesting how he puts it into perspective, where they choose to be there, but then they start to have those thoughts like, I could be with my wife right now. Like, why am I doing? Why am I choosing to be here right now? And so that's a big reason that he was stating that a lot of men can't make it through is because they start to have those thoughts. Like, I could be cuddled up with my wife and see my kids or whatever. And at the end of the day, the buds training is a choice. There's no one that's drafted into that. You choose to go into that free world, knowing the consequences. So
yeah, definitely,
it's very crazy.
So before I jump in the summary, I want to recommend everybody go pick up the book. This is what it looks like. Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Highly inspirational, different type of human over here. But read along with us. Tell us what you think of the book. We really, really enjoy it, and we know you will too. All right, so the summary, I'm going to jump on in. This chapter begins in Bud's Navy SEAL training, where David and others were chilling in the common room, getting pumped up for the battle they knew they had coming. When explosions rang off and Psycho Pete burst in screaming orders. David states, this war was all right, but it wouldn't be fought on some foreign shore. This one, like most battles in life, would be won or lost in our own minds. Bud's basic underwater demolition SEAL training is 6 months long and divided into 3 phases. Phase 1, physical training. Phase 2, dive training. And third phase is land warfare training. But Hell Week was an entirely different beast. David shares it's medieval and comes at you fast, detonating in just the 3rd week of training. That's a test that goes way beyond the physical and reveals your mindset, which is exactly what it's designed to do. Psycho Pete, one of the officers running the show, lingered like a shadow none of the possible recruits could shake. He was always there laughing, screaming, or quietly taunting them to their faces, attempting to burrow into the brain of any man he tried to break. Hell Week offers no love, especially on day 1, hour 1. The possible recruits were standing, linking arms, facing the Pacific Ocean, wading in and out of the 59 to 63 degree surf for hours. The possible recruits would be subject to sleep depravity for 130 hours straight. David shares, there is no way to systematically attack it, which is why every single person who has ever tried to become a SEAL has asked himself one simple question during their first dose of torture. Why am I here? Nobody has to become a SEAL. Becoming a SEAL is a choice. It's voluntary torture and makes no sense to the rational mind, which is why those 4 words unravel so many men. Crazy thing is, this wasn't David's first time tasting the evil of Hell Week. He was pulled out on medical after contracting double pneumonia. He defied orders and tried to remain in the fight, but was eventually rolled back from Class 230 to Class 231. David was assigned to Boat Crew 2 with, as he puts it, square peg misfits. David took the lead of Boat Crew 2 from the beginning, and getting all of them through Hell Week was his singular focus. David assigned himself and Freak Brown to the front and heaviest portion of the boat. Freak Brown was no joke, but you'll have to purchase the book to find out why. Hell Week was a mind game. The instructors use our suffering to pick and peel away our layers. Not to find the fittest athlete, but to find the strongest minds. David continues, that's something the quitters didn't understand until it was too late. By Wednesday of Hell Week, everybody was breaking down. David states we were all broke dick, chafed to holy hell. Our whole bodies were one big raspberry oozing pus and blood. Mentally, we were zombies. David was in need of something to fuel him and Boat Crew 2. So he deployed a process he now calls taking souls. He turned to Freak Brown while they lowered the boat and then lifted it overhead like creaky robots on reserve power and asked, you know why I call you Freak? Because you're one of the baddest men I've ever seen in my life. Freak cracked a smile. David continues, and you know what I say to those motherfuckers over there? As he motioned to the 9 instructors on the beach, I say they can go fuck themselves. Now let's throw this shit up high and show them who we are. Within seconds, all of Boat Crew 2 had life. They didn't just lift the boat, they continually set it down hard and threw it up. Their pain and exhaustion faded to the dismay of the instructors. Taking someone's soul means you've gained a tactical advantage. David states, life is all about looking for tactical advantages. You must do your own homework, know the terrain you're operating in, when and where you can push the boundaries, and when you should fall in line. This will inevitably test you. This means rehearsing answers to that one simple question that is sure to rise up. Why am I here? David states, know why you're in the fight to stay in the fight. Never forget that all emotional and physical anguish is finite. It all ends eventually. The ticket to victory often comes down to bringing your very best when you feel your very worst. The chapter continues with them going through budge training and successfully making it through 30 of the over 100 people that enlisted in becoming a recruit, which brings us to challenge 4.
So with that being said, thank you, Jay, for the summary. We're going to go on to challenge 4. And again, these challenges for our listeners, our people who follow along with us, it's meant to sort of engage you to try these challenges yourself. So for challenge 4, it starts off by saying, choose any competitive situation that you're in right now. Ask yourself, who is your opponent? Is it your teacher, your coach, your boss, unruly client? No matter how they're treating you, there's one way to not only earn their respect, but turn the tables. And David Goggins follows that with the word of excellence. That means acing an exam or crafting an ideal proposal or smashing a sales goal. Whatever it is, I want you to work harder on that project or in that class than you ever have before. Do everything exactly as they ask. And whatever standard they set as an ideal outcome, you should be aiming to surpass that. If your coach doesn't give you time in the games, just dominate the practice. Check the best guy on your squad and show the fuck out. That means putting time in and off the field. Watching films so you can study your opponent's tendencies, memorizing plays, and training in the gym. You need to make that coach pay attention. If it's your teacher, then start doing work of high quality. Spend extra time on your assignments. Write papers for her that she didn't even assign. Come early to class. Ask questions. Pay attention. Show her who you are and who you want to be. If it's a boss, work around the clock. Get to work before them. Leave after they go home. Make sure they see that shit. And when it's time to deliver, surpass their maximum expectations. Whoever you're dealing with, your goal is to make them watch you achieve and what they could never have done themselves. You want them thinking how amazing you are. Take their negativity and use it to dominate their task with everything you got and take their soul. So with that being said, taking souls. Yep. Who wants to go first? Is there anyone that would like to share their competitive situation that they're in right now?
I'll go first. I really want to think about something that's really creative, but I feel like to be honest, I don't have anything like a coworker or like a boss or a teacher. Again, I think ourselves are our greatest opponents, our enemies. I think that was a big reason why I wanted to get into I want to get into being like my physique, physically attractive, physically good looking, whatever you want to call it. But me personally, I want to be bigger. I want to be, so that's a battle within myself just because I have a specific image or a specific appearance that I want to go by physique wise. I have other things in my life such as business or trading that where I could look at the markets, for instance, and be like, that's a competitor. But understanding that if you're looking at trying to beat the markets, you're reversing the psychology on yourself, where it could be quite harmful because you think you're going to beat the markets every day or every week or every month, which you should just go with the market. So I would say physically, absolutely, my number one enemy, my number one person to beat is myself. And it does give me a boost or a rush when someone else is working out next to me, or if I'm running and so I'm like, I'm gonna in my own mind, I'm in a competition with this person. You know what I mean? I think people think like that all the time at the gym, right? Why people when we're working out, you hear people like, ooh, doing these loud ass and everybody does that. And so I think it's a psychological thing to maybe get into other people's heads. Maybe it's but I don't know. I think the biggest one for me is probably physical.
Okay. Nice.
It's like my own physical way of looking at myself.
Okay. So in the physical manner, when you're at your very worst or you feel like you're in a weakened mind, what is your plan of attack for being in those moments?
go harder. So last week, David decided we got uncomfortable, right? We were running. This is my first time. I've never done this before. Ran for 4 days out of the week. Ran at 5 o'clock in the morning. Ran 2 miles at 5 o'clock in the morning. I've never done that before. I think the closest thing to that I've done was probably back in high school when we wake up and if you had PE in the morning, you'd run a mile. But that sense of just go get it attitude, and especially I think when I'm down bad, it's mainly when I'm eating like shit, or I feel like I look at myself, I'm like, bro, what is going on? Like you were just like looking really good, and now it's like you're adding on weight or you're adding on stuff that you shouldn't be adding on, and so the following week will be like a stronger mentality. It's like, nope, there's no cutting, there's no doing shortcuts this week, there's no eating out, there's no eating junk food at all because you got to enjoy that last week or the weekend or whatever it may be. So it's like you go harder than what you usually go, or how I usually go. I go harder than the normal day.
Okay. So David states that you got to know your why you're in the fight to stay in the fight. So what is your reason why?
To promote good for physical, because I can do both for the physical and the finance part, such as business and the looking at the market. But for physical, just to be a guide to other people that want to, if it's physically look good, if it's to eat healthy, to build muscle. It's one field that I really might go into, maybe a nutritionist, maybe a personal trainer, but I really enjoy working out. I really enjoy my physical ability, being outdoors, hiking, things like that, things that take physical endurance. And you get a benefit out of that physical appearance. So if people are looking to do that, but not just for me, for people around me that need guidance, right? I have family members that deal with a lot of stuff too. So I think it's just being a lighthouse to others. It's not just a benefit for me, but looking at the markets and understanding how to trade and how to have your money work for you in your business and your investment accounts or portfolios, whatever it may be. I think that's a deeper sense of wanting financial freedom. We want to live on our own terms. We don't want to be owned by our time. We want to own our time. So I think that's a big why for me. And it's for my family, for my friends, all the people I can provide for. And so if I have time freedom, I have financial freedom, I have money coming in where I don't have to spend hours on end working, then it makes life a lot easier and I can give back a lot too. So awesome. And I think that pushes me forever.
Oh yeah. All right. That's a good one. So let's turn our attention to John. How about you? What was your competitive situation and who was your opponent?
So it took me a little while thinking about it. I could think back to the past where I definitely had someone like an opponent, an old foreman, where maybe the stuff he had mentioned there could have helped me. Like maybe I could have showed up early before him. So when he was trying to be a dick, I could have been like, "Where are you at, buddy? I'm already getting rolling." And maybe I could have stayed later and really just been like living rent free in his head, right? I'm thinking of like all the stuff I could have used to like get inside his head. As of right now, with my current situation, I would say my biggest opponent is probably myself and my time management. Just because, I wake up real early, do stuff with Ace, and then I gotta also I build a lesson plan for school, and then after school, like I gotta do stuff with Ace again because he's been inside. But like I still want to work out, right? And I still gotta read, and I still want to contribute. So, and then I'm still trying to train like Devin on the market, and so I think my biggest opponent right now is my own time management and what do I value, like what do I give my time to, I tend to want to be selfish and give my time to working out and an Ace, but like it's not everything. So I got to find other outlets to do things.
Right.
Okay. So what's your plan of action when you feel like you're in a weakened mind state?
Man, it's funny. Whenever I'm in a weakened mind state, I just want to go to the gym.
Okay.
It makes me feel better. Helps me like kind of like de-stress. I'm like, okay, dude, everything's not a big deal. Like the stuff I gotta do for school, you'll handle it. Like, you don't gotta be a rocket scientist to do this shit. So whenever I feel overwhelmed, just hitting the gym, going for like a long run or walk, helps me clear my mind.
Awesome. Okay. So another question is, like David states, you need to know why you're in the fight to stay in the fight. So what is your why?
My why And ever since I was been young, I want to be someone great. Like I want to be I want to be a millionaire. I want to be something like I want to have an impact on these kids. You know, great can mean a lot of things. So I just don't want to be mediocre with my life. So a mediocre person, I always tell myself, a mediocre person doesn't do this shit. That's why you're doing it. You know. So
Okay.
I want to be better than average. You know, I want to be great. So
Okay.
that's my why.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. All right, turning our attention, David. What is your response to challenge 4? What competitive situation are you in now, and who is your opponent?
Sort of on the same wavelength as John. You know, my biggest opponent right now, and maybe for a majority of the remainder of my life, is just going to be myself. Having one person to say, I can't really put a name on it, but maybe just other designers in Fresno or other graphic designers. If that might be something that is a whole that's like I have to challenge myself to be a better graphic designer amongst other ones in Fresno. Maybe that's like an opponent per se, but again, that one I feel like just ties back to myself, because if that is my challenge or that is my opponent is myself, then I have to, you know, it's all about keeping myself accountable and meeting my own goals, and time management. It's a huge one. Same thing with John.
Okay. So what is your plan of action on how to attack being your own worst opponent, biggest opponent?
Forcing myself to embrace, you know, pain and just being uncomfortable and doing things even if I feel like I don't want to do it. I got to teach myself good habits and great habits, even if it's just not fun. You know what I mean? Like life isn't all about having fun. It's great to have fun, but I can't be having fun or enjoying those fruits of my work because or I won't be able to do that if I'm not holding myself accountable. And a part of the plan of action was, like, again, like Devin said, last week we ran 2 miles about 4 days out of the week. And just waking up at 4:30, 4:45, getting out running and being awake, like fully awake while everybody was sleeping still, was just like a really good feeling. And I liked that I was holding myself accountable. And I was just making more time to do more creativity time, more research, and allowing myself the time that I need to make great work for my my business and my work. And it's awesome. I love being able to hold other people accountable, but it's tough to hold yourself accountable. But the benefits that I see from holding yourself accountable to the goals that you want to do in life, I think it feels so good. It just makes you want to go harder and say, you know, fuck it, if this is what it takes, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to prove myself wrong or prove myself right.
Oh yeah. So do you know your why?
My why?
Mm-hmm.
My why is because I have other people depending on me. I have myself that I want to prove, but, you know, I have my little brother, my family, my mom and dad, girlfriend, you know, close friends. I need to be the best version of myself for not only myself, but I like to resonate with the idea that there's just people depending on me. So I gotta put out, and I gotta put in the work.
Hell yeah.
Even if I feel like I don't want to.
Do you have something you wanted to say, John?
Well, two things. One, the thing you brought up clicked in my head, but David said it just makes him want to go harder, especially when you start seeing fruit from all like the extra labor you've been putting in. Like you start maybe looking better physique wise in the mirror. You put on muscle. You're like, damn, if I saw this much with doing this much, what if I doubled down? Or like even in the market, you're putting in time, like screen time. You're learning charts. You're learning the personality, and you start making some money. And you're like, damn, what if I doubled that? Like what if I put in more time? Like once you start seeing fruit, I think it really gets people, you know, going. And anybody. And David said, because people are dependent on him. It's funny. This is like, it's kind of dope. No one depends on me. That made my dog. It's pretty freeing, to be honest. like No one gives a shit
students
where-
depend on you.
That's true. My students do depend on me. You're right. I guess I mean in like my private life, like when I come home, like my time's like for me. I guess my students do depend on me. You're right. So,
Yeah.
but that's like work. People at work always depend on you for something. That's why you're there.
Oh
Yeah.
So for myself, I kind of broke it down into its two parts, but the competitive situation I wrote out was life's four dimensions. And my own biggest opponent, I would say, is my own mediocre mind.
Can you explain the four dimensions to someone who's not familiar with it? Do you have that knowledge on top of your head?
Yeah. So in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, authored by Stephen R. Covey, he mentions life's four dimensions. And there's mental, physical, social, and emotional are a package in one, and spiritual. And so that's the competitive situation I'm in now, is developing myself in those life's four dimensions and battling my own mediocre mind. I think I mentioned it here before, but Robert Kiyosaki has a quote that says, "Am I listening to my mediocre mind or my inner genius?" And so that's my biggest opponent, is my mediocre mind. Inside my own head, there's a voice of a mediocre man. It says, "Retreat to quadrant 4. It's relaxed there. You can chill. This is the greatest lie of every person's life." Not that it's relaxed and chill, but you can't develop to greatness by living in quadrant 4 majorly. And so for myself, finding a plan of action of how to attack that, the gym's been really helpful with that. I picked up running. I'm not doing 4 times a week, but I've been maybe doing like three times a week, waking up at 6 and doing some running. That's been really good because, it gets you ready and primed for what's going to happen in the day, I feel like.
Totally.
So I've been really enjoying that. So my plan of action on how to attack that is kind of paying attention to like my mindscape and how the inner voice or intuition is kind of talking, kind of on as a man thinketh, being aware of what you're thinking, because you tend to lean into that.
Mm-hmm.
Dude.
And so, go ahead.
No, I'm just agreeing with you. Totally.
Okay. Yeah. So if inside my head, it's like, hey, you need to just go chill, man. Just go chill. You can do this later, or go chill. You could still do it. That voice leads to a mediocre, below average lifestyle. If you want to pursue greatness, you got to listen to the inner genius in there. Just like, I don't know, you could even imagine it as David Goggins' voice, like, it's time to get up. It's time to go to work. So my plan of action is, go ahead.
Sorry. Keep going.
Okay. So my plan of action for that would be recognizing when I'm falling into that and not really embodying that idea, but just feeling it, letting it pass over and going even harder in the task that I'm doing, whether that's scientific literature, whether that's teaching, whether that's grading, the gym, whatever it might be, kind of putting that to the side, letting it kind of pass over, because you don't have to embody every thought that you have. And so going even harder. And that's easy to say, but I think genuinely with a plan of action, knowing your why kind of helps you pass through that and kind of go through that wall head on. And so for myself, what is your why? So right now I'm kind of in the same boat as John in terms of I have students, but I know they're depending on me, but that's not going to be my biggest why. I think for myself, my biggest why is that I have people depending on me in terms of like future family. I need to develop into a great man in order to provide the best possible circumstance I can for my future family, my wife, my kids. So keeping that in mind, that in order to create greatness, you have to first be greatness yourself. So my why would be that my future family is depending on me. And in order to be a great man, you have to put in the work now. Yeah, man.
What's so your why? Like, is that like your predominant why, is like your future family, your future existence of obviously we don't know the future exists, but is that sort of what keeps you going, keeps you like moving forward in that right direction?
Yeah, I'd say that's the biggest one. I'd say I have a list of them. Like I want to be a competent scientist that people can look up to. But the biggest why would be like I want to be great, have great habits, traits, behaviors um, before I have a family in order to instill that in my own kids.
Yeah, I took this a lot of the stuff we're reading from this book. I'm realizing Jordan Peterson talked about it too. Accountability, how David Goggins is describing it is a little different. How we're in a battle amongst ourselves because a lot of the times it's our own minds that are defeating us. It's no one else. No one can control you. No one can tell you how to feel. No one can tell you to where to be, show up. So if the majority of the answers are to like our answers are ourselves, then it's really dependent on us and not negotiating with your feelings. Stop negotiating with your mind. Stop giving yourself that capability to learn or to experience something that doesn't really matter because your feelings aren't real. It's you're allowing them to be real and be spoken to existence. Yeah. But I don't know. I was trying to find this quote right now, and I did. I think with people watching our videos, our podcasts, and reading the books, learning through like what we want to achieve, right, with family, physique, finances, career. Obviously, we're playing the marathon. We're playing the game of survival. We're not trying to achieve this overnight. And I think we're leading in that we're leading a perfect example of not living in instant gratification. And I think over time, watching back on our videos, we'll see that, right? The journey over time, we'll see that. But the quote that for some reason, it really stuck to this chapter. I don't know if you guys heard it. It's fools learn from experience. Wise men learn from experience of fools. So people that learn from others that have already made the mistake sort of prevent the mistake from happening again. And they won't perform the mistake because they watch someone else do it. I think David Goggins, just him going through his SEALs training and us reading this book, like he's trying to show people like, bro, I didn't have like, there was my why. If anything, my why was just some thought in my head, and I wanted to achieve something greater than the 100 men that failed through the program. I don't know.
So let me ask you this. Off that because I like I've heard it before. I like reference it sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do you guys think you learn? Do you guys think you learn the way of a wise man, or do you guys think you typically follow the way of the fool and have the experience and learn from your own mistakes? For me personally,
I think. Go ahead, John.
I would say I'm always like the fool. Like that's the way I like to learn. Even if someone tells me you can't do it that way, and like they're like, I've already tried. I have to just do it myself and fail. Even if it's been written out, it's like, well, I don't know, man. Maybe I can make it work, you know. So I've just found that out about myself. I always gotta give it a shot.
Yeah, definitely.
If I think I can.
Yeah, I would say a perfect example is I've experienced this like just from my own with trading. Now I'm journaling everything, how I feel, and I see myself doing 100% better. And I've already been trading for about a year and a half, 2 years now. And I barely started journaling my trades, journaling my emotions, journaling my feelings, journaling my setups. And I'm already seeing a benefit. But when I first started trading, I remember people, instructors or mentors or whatever you want, gurus, saying journal your feelings, journal your journal your trades, journal, but I never did. And I had to take the mistake of maybe losing money or not learning correctly or not applying what I'm learning in a proper form. So I learned it took me a lot longer to learn that. And now I'm back at day one, like journal your trades, journal. And now I see, like, when I look back, I'm like, I see why I took that trade. I see why I wanted to get in the market. And so now I'm learning a lot faster, and I wish I would have done that earlier. But hey, I was a fool, like, for that specific thing earlier. But then I learned, and wise men were trying to teach me earlier. So, but I didn't listen.
Yeah, I think for myself, I think it's a combination of things. And when it comes to school, I typically take what my teachers have to say and run with it, because
you're
they
good
were
at
the
that,
fools
dude.
at one.
Yeah.
They were the fools at one point, and they learned by making mistakes, and they're like, hey, look, this is how you do it. Don't do it any other way. And like even Waka, so there's this thing called strikes and dips, but you have a compass to do it, right? You have a compass to measure angles, you have a compass to measure bearings. And so he's like, don't do what I do. Like, I follow the book. Here's how you do it. Do it just like this. But he'll be out there in the field, he'll be like, yeah, it's about 270, 60 degrees. And we'll be like, you know, how do you even know that? And it's through experience. It's through experience over and over.
That makes
and over
sense.
again.
Yeah.
And so you know, I don't do that because like that can lead to mistakes, but he's that good. So so I typically take
remember
what I'm given.
Jay will fucking give me so much information about working out and exercise from like his own just like research and stuff. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like I end up doing the same stuff not because I research it, just because like through trial and error of like what works for me. But you have like, so I think you're good at that. I think you're pulling information.
Yeah, I typically like to do the research beforehand, and now grad school, that's all it's about. And so it's a test in that.
What about you, David? Do you have any experience that you felt like you were full in and kind of experienced it as a fool, but you were told or taught another way, or maybe you learn as a fool and you apply it that way?
Or do you think you're good about? Do you think you're good about learning from other people's experiences?
I'd say I'm very because I'm prone to analysis paralysis. The way I learn is I'm very observant about what people go through before I sort of make my decision. There's like pros and cons to that, you know. But yeah, I typically like to just watch what people are saying and take it as like, okay, maybe I should do this then. If this is the way this person is doing it, then I should do it that way. I'm not typically one to try and learn by myself certain things. I'm not very strong-headed in that sense, where I'm like, I'll just figure it out, you know. I typically try and listen.
So that was chapter 4 from Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Again, we hope you pick up the book. We hope you enjoy this podcast. We look forward to seeing you in the next one. Before you take off, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the little bell so you hear the ding. Like the videos. Make sure you drop a comment. Follow us on all our social media platforms. They will be down in the description below. And never, ever forget, the work you put in now equals who you are tomorrow.
Maybe you're the protagonist in your story, but like there's a million other people.